Hey everybody, welcome to my live stream. Check in with me Facebook, please. Check in with me YouTube, please. If we are indeed live, if we are indeed broadcasting, give me a quick thumbs up that you're hearing me speak and that you are hearing my bass. And a little more light help, thank you. Are you all there? Hello YouTube, give me a quick thumbs up if you can hear me, please. Today is a live stream about an upcoming class I'm doing, which is on the pattern system, because we have a lot of questions about this book all the time. It's also available spiral bound. But the pattern system for the bass player is a systematic way to learn the fretboard, but it goes way beyond that, because we really want to teach you how to practice very, very effectively. Music theory for the bass player is the perfect starting point for it, because I wrote that book already with the pattern system in mind. This was just material that I didn't see out there in that shape or form, and it's too important to bypass if you want to really be a proficient bass player on all levels. And most of what it does, which is really the exciting thing, is that it helps you tap into your creativity when you're not constantly chasing the notes. So a lot of players, when they're just sort of getting used to shapes on the fretboard and finding their way around, they may be finding their favorite areas on the bass, and they're kind of limited that way, or they know things in certain keys. This is typically a gray area, right? But mostly we are busy chasing notes. And what this system does, it gives you the availability of all the notes that have a certain sound. So it's great for ears as well, because we're, talking about scale degrees and we're practicing all these scales and arpeggios in certain ways. And it's just great to not have to chase the notes, but to know what it's going to sound like before you get there, to have all these options, not just maybe in your ear, but you know where it is, so you don't have to play it to know what it's going to sound like. So I'm really passionate about this book and this method. We have run, gosh, how many rounds? 4 rounds of practice groups now with the method. Many people go through this on their own. You can just, learn it, read it, follow the blueprints. Every single chapter has what I call blueprints for practice in them, where you learn exactly, this is the homework, this is what you do each week. Because to do everything in every key every single time, that's overwhelming. So we do scalar practices, we do improvisation. In every single chapter there's an improv component, and then a component about the fretboard and the way we think about this. And we start going area by area, but then later on we go diagonally. So really want to get the fretboard down cold, but also want to be ahead of the thinking curve. And with these drills, we really ingrain that. So we've done 4 rounds of them, which means we have a level 4 coming up. We also have, we've done more than that, because I started that when I was still in LA, so I got to think about it. But lots of testing. And what we do is we go through the book together. So let me check in here with the Facebooks and the YouTubes. I see Chris in the house. Harry, good to see you. These are practice groups attendees, so they know what's going on. And we meet on Zoom live, for 10 weeks in a row, and we go through chapter by chapter. I've now completely reorganized how the homework is structured. So you see what did we do, what stuff to review, what is new this week, and what, if you want to learn ahead, is coming up next. So if you miss a session, it's really no biggie. You can just watch the rerun and everything is good. So let me just add the information. We get the new website, so this is a really long URL, but maybe we can pop that in the chat. I see Fred's in the house. Good to see you, Fred. You don't mind popping that link into the chat once in a while? That'd be awesome. I don't know where you are. Wait, you are on, I do know where you are. You're on YouTube. Okay, cool. So I will grab that also so that Facebook sees it, because I believe I'm broadcasting to the world here. I'm curious about what you're experiencing in terms of knowing the fretboard. Put in the chat for me what it is you struggle with. Do you do some sort of systematic practice? I believe that is the key component of learning, because this is typically something that we don't figure out so easily by them ourselves, right? We can figure out maybe that this is a pentatonic scale or something of that nature, so we just sort of intuit by playing a lot of songs that sound a certain way, right? Oh, that's a pentatonic. so some people intuit that sort of thing. They don't know there's a name for it, but when you learn the name, it's just something that's already familiar, right? To add to that. But Van Rent, Gaylord, I have no idea what that means. Maybe cat on the keyboard. That is something that happens in this house quite a bit. But let me know what your challenges are in terms of using the fretboard. So a systematic practice in that regard is really something that a teacher can help you with that. And it is very helpful to... Yeah, James is saying something very typical. I don't even know where to start a systematic practice routine. So yeah, that makes perfect sense, because it just seems so overwhelming, right? So that's why we systematize it in this book, but we always make sure to stress 3 points. This book is more than just fretboard shapes. Way more. A lot of people go, why do you have 5 shapes and not 7 shapes? And, other methods of different numbers of shapes. And it's not the shapes we use for a reason. I could talk at length why we use the ones we use and not the others, because the others come together very easily once you know ours. But the main thing is we go far beyond just fretboard shapes. So we really want to help you get down this thinking process. So we do a lot of mental practicing in this method, a lot of visualization. And if you are a person who has a hard time visualizing, count me among them, right? Visualization did not come very easy to me, but I did see the benefit. This is a component that Wolfgang, amongst many other things, contributed to this method, this mental practicing aspect, which is really a humongous shortcut. When I first learned bits and pieces of this method, I learned at the Bass School Munich, and then Wolf and I developed it way further, or did our own version of it, I should say. And Wolfgang added this mental practicing piece. When I first learned some of these shapes and ways of practicing the patterns, I was really good with music theory, so I could on the fly just play a scale and say the note names. If I'm playing C major, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and I'm supposed to stay just in this area, right? F major, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C. So I have had no problem, because I knew my notes and I knew my theories. I could just create it on the fly really quickly, right? And then Wolfgang introduced me to this idea of adding this mental piece, this visualization piece, and that was a huge eye-opener for me. Because now when I'm thinking C major, even when I say it, C major, pattern 5, area 1, my pattern folks know what I'm talking about, that is just as I say it, I see an image, and that did not come to me like that from the beginning. Trust me, I had a really hard time. I always thought you're supposed to see a crystal clear picture with the strings, and it's like super easy to just read off. It's not like that. It's still a little fuzzy and vague. But if you, and do this experiment with me right now. Close your eyes and just imagine your E string. And now just imagine the 3rd fret on your E string. You would know or get some sort of a sense what that looks like on your bass, maybe even what that feels like on your bass, maybe a certain sound that comes connected with it, though I do not require you to have perfect pitch or anything like that. But it's a package, because that's how the brain makes sense of things. It's a whole package. It's a chunk, right? It's a feeling. It's a sensation. It feels different on one bass than it does on another, right? So we use the fact that there is some sort of visual component involved. And then we learn these shapes and we read them off the paper, and then we close our eyes and try to see it. And so if I now try to see C major in that area, then I can visualize it, right? I can move my fingers with it. And there's tremendous value in that. What else do we have? Gaylord, I still do not know at all what your cat was typing out, so please help me out. We have, I don't even know where to start. That was James. Todd says, figuring out the best position to avoid shifts can be a challenge. Absolutely. Often tempted to play in a more comfortable register and jump when necessary. Yeah, totally. Facebook user who said, made it. I don't see your name, so welcome and thanks for joining, but I don't know who you are, so let me know. And that is a very good point, Todd. You have, for those of you who read, and by the way, this method is extremely helpful for reading as well. A lot of people read just through spot placing every single note, right? And that works, but it's hard. So what I like to do is I like to always put whatever we're reading in a certain context. Well, we're learning the shapes, right? So we are relating the notes to the shapes themselves, and that's actually makes reading much easier, because then and also if you know theory, right? If you see there's a note on the line between the line, on the line between the line, on the line between the line, and there's a certain key signature, and you know you're in a certain key, then actually that is a chunk. That is like a, oh, that's a whatever key I'm in scale, right? And then you see, well, there's a sharp there, so there's something altered, or there's a flat there, so there's a modulation. So you get. That's why I start with music theory, because if you understand how notes relate to each other, and in my music theory book, we start with just the intervals, smallest building blocks. And then I expand from there. And so if you know how to read the intervals, if you know what they look like on the fretboard, and then you realize what they sound like and what they create when you repeat them over and over, or when you combine them in certain ways, like if you repeat thirds over and over, you get beautiful chords, right? So major and minor thirds, of course, and other intervals get formed while you do that. So it's all about relationships and patterns. And I found that way of teaching very, very powerful, especially for such a, pattern-based instrument like the bass. I mean, if you figure something out somewhere and you just move it, right? That's one way to know something on the bass. But then it gets dangerous also, because we get used to only certain ways. That's why we do the pattern system, where we comprehensively try to hit all the patterns. So, we have Robert in the house, Vincent's in the house, welcome Switzerland. Singing the notes you play helps tremendously. Yeah, I agree with that. It makes your ears and fingers cooperate, absolutely, Seth. And if you have the voice box to be able to do it, that's great. Some people just have a little bit of a hard time to match up what they hear inside with the actual vocal technique. If that's you, that doesn't mean you have bad ears at all. It just means that your voice box doesn't cooperate, because I've met a lot of people like that. But if you can sing, it's great. Now what we do in the pattern system is we number them by scale degrees. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8. Right? So now I can say, I just played you that. What would 2 sound like? Can you hear it? Or even just 1. I just played it, right? Maybe you weren't paying attention, but maybe it's still in the room. See if you can grab it and see if you can sing it. Da. Okay? And that was 1. So what's 2? Da. I'm going to go to the 5. Skip the 3. Ba. Da. Da. Excuse my voice. But not warmed up. But you get the idea, right? So yes, bringing it together. Lots of ear players, have actually an easier time figuring out adding in those numbers. Because to me, a number is a sound. So as I said, if I say 2, I hear something in my mind. I see something. I feel a finger. So it's a whole nice little package. Harry says, can sing, or should he? Okay. So keep letting me know what your experiences are in terms of what your experiences are in terms of knowing where the notes are. What are experiences in terms of knowing where the notes are? By the way, if you wanted to look at the book, it's on Amazon, and it is on bookdepository.com with worldwide free shipping. And one thing that's been a big topic, it's right over there and I'm wired up, but we do have a spiral bound version. The logistics behind that, as my team members know, is very difficult. So to ship it worldwide, we can do it, but it's just postage is tremendous. If you are interested in getting it, it's at where is it? It's at wait a minute. Here, I got a nice little book up there. But it's at what was I going to say? Bookdepository.com has worldwide free shipping, but it's not spiral bound. If you want the spiral bound one from us, it's at shop.re-blog.com, but it comes with a huge shipping fee if you are international. Unfortunately, we're already eating some of that, so we are just paying regular rates, and that is quite a bit. So if you wanted to save money, get the book. Go to a Kinko's or FedEx or Office Depot, some sort of, I don't know what they're called internationally, but you just go to one of those stores, have the spine cut off, spiral binding put in, and then you get the exact same thing. We already laid out the files in such a way that you can do that without losing a single letter or nothing. So we already thought ahead for that, as it was a similar idea for music theory for the bass player. Okay, so I want to show you just a few of the things that we are doing in the pattern system group. Again, we meet 10 weeks in a row. We're now on level 4. with one group, and we just go through the blueprints and a little bit beyond. I sometimes follow the pace of the group, so different levels actually differ a little bit from each other. I had a couple of level 2s running parallel for a while and level 3s running parallel. So I really go with what the group needs. There are between 5, 15, 20 people in a group, so there is room for questions. There is room for, just doing little, what we sometimes do is we go through the tiles, everybody gets a key, and then we go through it. So that's a lot of fun. And it's just a super supportive environment, and we're just all in the same boat learning. And sometimes it's a flub fest, and that's all good because we're putting in the work and we're getting better, and that's all that counts. And you really can feel yourself getting better because you have these milestones. Okay, we're working on area 1 and we're going through the cycle. Okay, great, now we're going through the cycle to the right, which is already much harder. Now we're going through the cycle of major seconds, so you have all these touchstones. And in the method, we have that laid out, how we do it step by step. I have to say the exercises in the pattern system are very intuitive. That's nice to hear. Excellent. Yeah, Ari, I know you are, I believe, leading a group on SBL who are doing that together. I loved seeing that. So terrific. I'm definitely an ear player, says Seth. I use the melodies of Christmas carols to practice playing all 4 strings in a 4 or 5 fret limitation. That's a very good idea. Playing melody is great for your ears. I just wholeheartedly support that idea. So I just wanted to show you a little bit of what we're doing in the group. And I just pulled up the homework of this week's practice group. What was it? Level 3, I believe. So don't have to panic if this seems like, oh gosh, that's tough, that's hard, I could never do this. And there are certain limitations that we give you that when you play, just play, right? You wouldn't otherwise have. And that's on purpose. So we do that so that you don't gravitate to all the areas that you already do know, but that you are really forced to learn the bass area by area. And again, we start like this. You could say, what is that? Vertical, and then we do horizontal, we do diagonal later on, right? But it is very good for, it's also great for your technique. So let me see. So I'm just gonna play you whatever this is. So let me put that to maybe a little slower so you guys get an idea. So this is just a 2-5-1-6, 2-5-1-1. If I'm the key is C, what are the notes, folks? Give me that in the chat if you would. 2-5-1-6, and the 6 is a 7 chord. It's a dominant chord, which means I'm going outside of the pattern. Usually I would have my sound effect here. You get a police siren if you go outside of the pattern. So in this particular exercise, though, we have to go outside of the pattern, which is the whole idea, because at first we color within the lines so that we then know what it's like to color outside of them. So again, this is not the level 1 group. Level 1 group starts on the bottom. So you would get all of this step by step. Donald says he is, Donald, I believe we met. I think we met. Yes, at Gerald Weasley's base camp. Nice to see you here. Thanks for joining. I got my books and waiting on the wall chart. Wonderful. Be blessed. Harry says DGCA. That is correct. And if you, yep. Harry's nailing it. Vincent's nailing it. Seth's nailing it, missing the C, but that's all good. And Harry is then saying D minor, G7, C major, A7, correct. So it's a 2-5-1-6 dominant, and then 2-5-1-1. And what I'm going to show you is, I'm just going to use triads, okay? Now, there's so 2 limitations. Police is going to go off. If I either go outside of my area, I have to stay inside the area, and the police is going to go off if I... So either if I go out of the area was the other thing I was going to say. If I play anything but triads. So those 2 rules, I have to stay inside my shape and I have to just play triads. If I play a 6, if I play a 9, it will sound nice, but I'm not fulfilling the assignment. I'm big on learning triads because everything flows from them. And they're technically not that easy, right? So because I have to do things like, for example, I'm going to do this slow one time. Is this in the shot here? Move over a little. Okay, so it's D minor, G major, right? And I always like in the pattern system, it's also something that's new for a lot of people in the beginning, is a real jolt. I don't go from the lowest note to the highest note, meaning from the root to the root. I'm going from the lowest to the highest note in a certain position. So not just from the root 1, 3, 5, you know, that's fairly easy, right? Even though probably you might want to finger it that way, but we're staying in one area, else the siren comes. My sound effect's not set up. So, but what I want to do is not just go root 3, 5. I want to hit all those D's, F's, and A's. Why? Because that's my D minor triad, right? In that area. So I go D, F, A, but I got one more. A right here, right? So I got to add that. How about the G? I got the 1, 3, 5, and then 8, 3 up here on top, right? And then the root 3, 5, 8. Backwards, there's another G down there, right? So I want to know them in all ways, and then I can permutate them. There's so much cool stuff you can do, and triads sound really dramatic. And so I love triads. And here is one sample. So I'm just going to show you this maybe a little fast. I want to make sure you see what I'm doing in terms of areas. So here we go. Here comes 2, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5, 1, 1. And I'm just going to do that in one key at first. Can you all hear that? Can you hear the track? Let me know if you can hear the track. 2, 5, and this is considered pattern 5 in area 1. Now I'm going to the next station. This is pattern 6 in area 2. Again, just try it. Next station, that's pattern 1. Next one. And the last one. So this is just, oh good, track sounds good, thank you. So the idea behind this is now I'm practicing this in all 5 different areas of the bass, and that gives me 5 ways of conceptualizing this. But the beauty of it is, once I know it in one key, in these 5 ways, I know it in all because I keep repeating. And there's a huge shortcut behind that because you don't constantly reinvent the wheel. This chord progression is extremely frequent. 2, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5, 1, 1, right? Shows up over and over and over in all sorts of songs. And since this is jazz idiom, so especially in jazz, turnarounds, what have you. So to know this, first of all, recognize it so that when you're learning a tune, it's like, oh, those 4 bars I already know, right? Because that's the usual 2, 5, 1, 6, for example. And it's extremely helpful to have that under your belt. And then I know it now in 5 different ways. You notice I didn't use any open strings, because if I use open strings, every single key is different. And it was a little tongue-in-cheek by starting the book with the open area. In a way, it's the toughest area because I have to learn every single key on its own, with a couple of exceptions, which double task as closed area patterns, if you will. They are all unique. And this is just sort of to drive home the idea. If you don't have any kind of system behind what you're doing, you constantly have to play as if you were in the first area, meaning you always have to start from scratch. You always have to reinvent the wheel, right? But once we are leaving the open strings, there's only 5 ways. If I, give myself these certain limitations to just stay inside one area, there's only 5 ways how I can do that. And then, of course, we can combine them. So a nice drill is to do something like what I just had. And then I'm using iReal Pro, sort of apologize. Usually we have custom composed tracks, which are way less MIDI-ish. iReal Pro is not very responsive. It's not very grooving. It's not very, it's hard to nail it down to sound kind of like a real drummer. But so that's why we prefer using tracks that Wolfgang thankfully supplies for us. But in this case, I'm using iReal Pro. But there's a feature you might not even know that iReal Pro can do, which is kind of cool. There is something called the tutor. If you're using a tablet or an iPhone, it says tutor, and it has this little hat as the image. On my desktop right now, it's all new. It says practice transposition. And what you can do is now I want to do this through the cycle, right? Transpose up by, I want to go up a 4th so that I get to go through the cycle, which is the same note as down a 5th. So the cycle of descending 5ths is what I'm going through now. And now what I'm going to do, 5 half steps. Yeah. So I transposed it that every time it did a round, it's going to jump to the new key. You have to, depending on which key this was originally coded, you cannot trust iReal Pro to know music theory, because mine is spitting as if I look at this, it messes me up. So I'm just doing this from memory, and I'm doing it from memory because that's the drill also. You don't want to look. But I'm just saying, if you do that drill, it might spit out a D sharp major and things of that nature, which of course do not exist. But iReal Pro did not attend. iReal Pro didn't read my book, that's why. So what I'm doing is, oh, Donald says yes, yeah, I think, yeah, I remember you guys. That's great. Thanks for being here. And Donald is saying that's where I'm at. Just finished all the diagrams, now walking through the open patterns. Yep. And, feel free to move on before you've mastered the open area. You can always keep coming back to it, and the blueprints do. The blueprints very often refer to the open area. So you're in good shape if you are just fulfilling the assignments, but then keep moving on. The real gold happens in chapter 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it gets much easier. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do 2, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5, 1, 1 in the key of C, and then I'm going to go up into the key of F because I'm going up in the cycle. Okay, here we go. Let's make this a little bit faster, but I want you to be able to follow what I'm doing. So it's 2, 5, 1, 6. Is there a bass in this? 2, 1. That's C major. So now comes F major, 2, 5, 1. That's pattern 2. Now comes B flat major. The 2 is C. And that was pattern 6. F minor. That's pattern 3. So for me, because I practice this so much, my fingers are so comfortable with all these shapes. I constantly know where the root is. I constantly know how every single note references the root, how it relates to the root. So I'm extremely comfortable. I know what it's going to sound like. I have the technique to do it. I have this focus. I'm constantly thinking ahead, right? And there's so many different things I'm thinking. I'm thinking, oh, E flat, that's, it's pattern 3 in area 1. And now I'm going, I'm starting on the F. You have to constantly hold multiple thoughts in your mind. What's the next key? Well, I just finished B flat, so my next key is going to be E flat, but it's not starting on the E flat, it's starting on the 2, and which pattern is it, right? Which in the beginning, when you're first learning that, might seem like a boatload, right? But we break it down, we do it step by step, and we slowly get you comfortable doing all this multitasking without losing your composure in your mind. But the beauty then is when we do these pretty tough and challenging exercises through the entire cycle, up and down the fretboard. This was just area 1. When I'm through the cycle, I'm going to go to area 2, then I'm going to go to area 3. There are 5 areas total until I come back around. And remember, what my fingers repeat is just a version of 5 possibilities, because there's only 5 ways how you can practice that in pattern 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. Why is there no pattern 4? Is it a typo? No. Pattern 4 is integrated in pattern 3 and pattern 7, if you will, because there are 7 notes, right? We integrate into pattern 1. There's like a pattern that, goes, wait a minute, what was I doing? I was doing G. If I do this, that's another pattern you could do, but that's what we tackle in a later chapter as combining patterns. So you get this way of thinking about it as well. Let me see what YouTube's saying. It's peeking ahead. Were you walking the triads? Yes, triads only. Triads only. What's a triad? Good point, Seth. No worries. What's a triad? Essentially, I think of a triad as a slice out of a scale. I'm in a certain context, right? There's 4 types of triads, if you will. There's major triad, minor triad, diminished triad, and augmented triad. The augmented triad doesn't even show up in my diatonic world unless I go into harmonic minor, melodic minor, which right now we're not, right? So we're just doing the regular major, minor, and diminished triads. Those are the 3 triads that I can build out of a major scale. And how do I do it? Well, I think of it this way. Let's say we have a C major scale. these are the scale degrees, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and these are the note names, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and we do that in the pattern system a lot, saying note names, saying fingerings, you know, we, like this drill that I did, I love doing that while I'm saying the note names. D, F, A, F, G, D, B, G, C, E, G, C, A, E, C sharp A, right? Which in English is a mouthful. If there are any German speakers on the call, then you know that it's much easier in German because everything is one syllable. Even the C sharp is just cis, you know. So I still to this day prefer doing it in German. And then you get all mixed up with the B and the B flat and all that good stuff. But in English, A sharp, you know, that can be a mouthful. But always C sharp, but always take the time to say it, right? Because oftentimes people just assume it's sharp, but that can get you in trouble. So, and the way I really think, this is really life. Yes, Michael? This is really life. So the way I'm thinking about triads is I think about the scale, about the scalar context, like I'm in the key of C major with my D minor, G7, and I'm playing one, skipping one, playing one, skipping one, playing one, right? So my first chord would actually be D minor, so I'm gonna do the D minor triad. D, skip one, play one, skip one, play one. And that gives me this shape, this collection of notes, right? And you can do that through the entire scale. Then you end up with 7 triads. They're either major, minor, or diminished. Which scale degree is the diminished, crowd? Which scale degree is the diminished? In this live, yes, in these live broadcasts. Oh, Michael says, this is amazing. You've convinced me to sign up for real. See you Saturday. Fantastic. Oh, that's great. Wonderful. Let's start this week. I don't even know. Might start next week. Look at what this thing here says. And so, Fred, remind me when it starts, would you? Please. So I think of triads just, it's a part out of that pot, right? That's why the shape is so nice to know, right? Right now I'm playing pattern 5. It's called pattern 5 because the 5th is the lowest note. That's extremely helpful because now I'm starting 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, right? And if I do my little triads and it's 2, 4, 6, 5, 7, 2, 1, 3, 5, and then 6, sharp 1, 3, right? So you have to, when I do the A7, that's outside of my shape. That's like a blue note where you do a red note or a brown note, whatever you want to call it, where usually my police would go off. You played a note not in the shape, but in this case, it's okay. Remember, this is level 3. Hey, Joe, good to see you. Old friend from Vienna. That's awesome. Thanks for tuning in. And for the greetings from the old home. I love that. How does the practice group differ from the cohort? Oh, it's very different. So, okay. I don't want to divert too much, but do want to honor your question, Steve. So what we do in the cohort is designed to help you with the course music theory for the bass player, which is a 20-unit course, which a lot of people do successfully on their own, but some people prefer to get some help in terms of accountability. What the cohort does, it teaches you how to be accountable. It teaches you there is weekly homework, there are coaches and mentors who give you a little ping if you didn't submit your homework in time. So the cohort is, first of all, 40 weeks long. So we don't cut any corners. We're giving you the whole semester, or both semesters, if you will. So it's a 40-week course, very rich, very deep. It's about music theory for the bass player, and it is a good, if you know your theory, you can jump into the pattern system straight away. If you don't know your theory, that's a good starting point. Although we've had people, very successful actually, who did the pattern system without the music theory, and they did the music theory after. So they did the pattern system first, and they're now doing the music theory course. So to answer your question, the cohort is 40 weeks long. You have a lot of interaction with the coaches. You have a discussion board. You post your homeworks every week, and you're getting thumbs up and comments and people cheering you on. This is designed to help you be accountable. The practice group meets with me 10 weeks on Zoom. We meet at the same time. Is this live? Yes, it's live. if you miss it, you can watch a recording, not a problem. And we meet live on Zoom. So people have questions, people have prepared something they want to show, have a technique issue, whatever it is, we can talk about it. And we also do the homework together. So I'm looking constantly for new tools to make it more interactive. And we also just, okay, you grab C, F, and B flat, and I'll do E flat, A flat, and D flat, and do G flat. And so we go through the groups. And it's a low pressure environment. Somebody wants to, and I don't want to play today. That's totally fine. That's no problem. We don't put anybody on the spot. So you can do whatever you're comfortable with. But people love the interactivity. If there are some people on here who are in one of those groups, then please give a note how you like it and how it's different from the cohort. I think I saw some names of people who are in both scenarios. And I have a practice group in 9 minutes going on, so I had to be a little bit conscious of time. There was one more thing I wanted to show you. Thank you, Fred. Pattern starts this Saturday, March 12th. Oh, it does. Okay, cool. I'll be there. Pattern system starts this Saturday, March 12th at 1 p.m. Pacific. And that's level 1. We also have a level 4 starting, I believe. No matter what level player you are, you do want to start at level 1 with this because it's level 1 of the method. So if you're advanced, a lot of, academic students, a lot of advanced students love this method because it fills in holes. It makes you comprehensively adapt all over the neck. It really helps with soloing. It helps with walking. It helps with, improvising. It's a lot of, if you bring a lot already to it, your improv drills will be much more, in depth, involved, exciting, rhythmically complex, what have you. If you just bring the basics, you're also fine. I've taught this method to, not beginners. You do need to know a little bit about music theory. You do need to know key signatures, keys, scales. When I say D major or D major triad or the fifth, then you need to know, at least in principle, what I mean and be able to find it on the bass. You need to be able to find an E flat on all strings. This sort of thing doesn't have to be that fast. It's totally fine if it takes you a second, but I do want to say E flat. I can't start from the beginning. How do you find that? What is that? But so those basics are important. And if you don't have the music theory for the bass player, it's the perfect first stepping stone to that. And also, I like teaching by engaging you with questions, by engaging you with filling out diagrams and answering questions and doing quizzes and that sort of thing, because learning psychology has shown us that that's the way it sticks. If I could have filled this book with just a bunch of diagrams in all keys and say, good luck. But you need that engagement by you yourself, changing it in all the different keys. This drill that I showed earlier, I could write it out and fill the book and get paid by the weight of the book, if you will. But it's much more beneficial for you if you actually have to sit there and think it through and make it yours. And then you have made it yours, and then you start improvising with it. So it's a learning curve that you are, very, very much at the helm of. And so I like that way of teaching, and I do everything I teach, I do in this regard. So if you like that, if you like being challenged and involved, then that's a good fit for you. I've tried to follow your principle of playing all available notes in a given scale. Open E, F sharp, G, A, B. Okay, what scale would that be, Seth? You're saying E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C. Okay, got you. No, you're not in the open area. So that's not from the book because it wouldn't go as far as to the C. But this is a G major scale, right? So, okay, got you. Yeah, perfect. That works. So you're doing essentially my pattern 1 in G, but you're adding the E on the bottom because then it starts sounding like an E minor, right? That could be one reason why to do this. So yes, that's great. But then if you leave out the E, then you got pattern 1. 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4. And I'm saying fingerings. 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4. Right? And that is one really great shape, 1 of 5. A lot of people figure out, or know this one, especially when you're an ear player and you go root to root. And a lot of people then go, oh, I get it. The modes are the patterns are the modes, right? No, there's more to it. Every single pattern contains all the modes. That's essentially the answer. And you want me to play, I don't know, Dorian? that's pad on 1, starting on A, right? So every single pad on contains all the modes. So again, it's a huge shortcut because there's 5 ways of fingering every single mode, every single scale, every single triad. Major triads, 5 shapes. Minor triads, 5 shapes. Diminished triads, 5 shapes, right? So you get those under your belt, and we do it in all keys. What people often overappreciate is they're worried that stuff's too hard. Don't let that be your worry. Actually, the principles behind key signatures and triads and scales and how things are built and how they relate, actually fairly accessible. Where it gets hard, though, is to be able, or harder. What people often underappreciate is how much we need to practice this in all keys, in all areas on the bass. And I tell you, I've taught this method to, I haven't counted, but for a long time. I've been teaching this method for about 20 years. And so many students go, what's wrong with me? I did area 1. Why do I still have to practice it in area 2? Why is area 3 harder than this? If I do it in the cycle to the left, why is the cycle to the right harder? What's wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. It's just that's how the brain works. In order to be on the fly, able to switch into whatever key, into whatever next chord change, have that under your fingers comfortably without having to think a ton, just takes systematic practice. And that's what's often underappreciated. People go, here's the scale, this is how it works, go forth, have good luck. It doesn't work that way, because depending on where you are on the bass, you might run out of strings, you might run out of notes, you might have to reshift and reshuffle the deck. So that's my my goal, to help you understand the principles behind it. First of all, they're accessible, but what makes it a bit more challenging is that we need to address it from all angles. We need to look at it from all sides. We need to practice it in so many different ways. And that's really where this method shines. And it's very applicable because we move like music does, So cycle to the left, diatonic cycle. If you are in my cohort, then right now the summer cohort is finishing that up right now. So you guys got, 3 more weeks to go? Super, super great group. And so it's very applicable, and once you got these shortcuts under your fingers, it gets much more manageable because you understand how it all relates. But then we still need to practice it, because in the heat of the moment, if you want to produce a certain sound, you need that option all over the bass accessible to you. So, hi David Elmerman, good to see you. Thank you for joining. The modes still frustrate me. You know what? I can unfrustrate the modes for you right now, Seth. Pick a mode, put in a track. Wolf has composed some really lovely modes tracks, and just improvise with it on that one mode, right? And oftentimes modes are taught, often they're taught like this: C Ionian, D Dorian, E Phrygian. And it all sounds like C to me. Right, because I just played C, and we are steeped into diatonic music, which relates to a key center. So I can't really, modal music and diatonic music has a different agenda, if you will. They're often mixed, but in essence, the diatonic world relates to the root. It's a 1-4-5-1. It's got functions. Tells the story by creating chord progressions. The modal world creates a story by colors. So I can't hear the colors of the modes if I am using a diatonic vehicle, namely, I'm in C, and now I do C Ionian and D Dorian, because now I heard the C. So everything you play after that is going to sound like C. So it's going to sound like the 2 of C, which Dorian kind of is, but here's what I mean. Now you can hear the colors of the modes. Ready? C Ionian, C Dorian, C Phrygian. Now you can hear it, see? That's Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian. Locrian sounds so incomplete. Somebody play that D flat, please. Thank you. And then every single one of them has a certain quality. Ionian, that's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. You know that one. Dorian, that's Irish, but it's minor, but because it has the Irish tint, because the Drunken Sailor, tunes like that are in Dorian, Phrygian, that's Spanish sounding, My alarm's going off. I gotta stop. See, I always get so much fun. D flats for everyone. Hey, Dave. 1 minute to your next teaching session. Yeah, I gotta go. But everybody, thanks for the questions. Thanks for participating. See you on Saturday if you'd like to. If you miss a session, you can watch the recording. That's no big deal at all. And we have a blast. We work hard, but we have a blast. It's a very supportive environment. So if you want to join us for the pattern system of the bass player level 1, it's starting again on Saturday. Thank you everybody for joining. That was a blast. Hi Evita. That's lovely to hear. Great insight from a composer. She says, wow, I love the insights on modal versus diatonic. And Evita is a fantastic composer, so that's a nice compliment. Hi, Alar. So nice to see all your names here. All right, y'all. I'm going to go because my class is waiting for me. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for joining. Cheers.